The Ticket Machine is the official ticket broker of Spartan Nation. No matter what you need a ticket for, border to border, coast to coast, the Ticket Machine is your ticket source. So whether you need to get into the hottest concerts, the best sporting events, you want the best seats in the house, or you just want to get in the door, when you want to go to any event that requires a ticket, anywhere, border to border, coast to coast, it's always theticketmachine.com. Theticketmachine.com, 517-655-3201. Check it out today at theticketmachine.com.
The game of football starts up front, and I thought we signed a great, very impressive group of what I call power football players, guys that can play on the offensive and defensive lines in the trenches. Most of our committed, our signing class has been committed for quite some time. Months, I think the February 19th signing has been a positive thing, probably for most people around the country. It sort of allows you to move forward. It certainly is challenging in terms of everything you're trying to get done relative to bowl practice and everything else this week, and the things that go on with it. You don't have as much time maybe making home visits and things of that nature as you have 3 weeks in, but I do think it's been a positive. A lot of outstanding class this year, a lot of highly ranked players as always, Dream Team members as well. Outstanding students in this class. Good balance of big skill and skill players, I feel. As I said before, power players, but we have some outstanding skill players as well. And I thought we attracted a good group of specialists, which are always going to be so important in every football game. Majority of our class has been signed probably, but we'll probably continue to recruit to finish it out, much like we did last year. I think we signed Jalen Naylor and Deshaun Mallory late last year, but Jalen right before the February signing period, and you see what kind of player he turned out to be. So we do have 7 players that are enrolled early, which is the most we've ever had really since we've been here. And I think that's, I guess, a coming trend, but that's the most we've ever had. So it'll be exciting and interesting to watch those guys as they make their way through winter workouts and spring practice their first year here. So I think the best way to do this is what I've always tried to do, is just go through the players, and then we'll hold questions till the end, and then finish the recruiting aspect of it. And if you have any other questions at that point relative to the program, within reason, can't stay over here too long, I'll be happy to answer those as well. So the first guy up is Devontae Dobbs, and Devontae is from Belleville High School, coached by Jermaine Crowell. Outstanding football player, ranked as one of the top 5 offensive tackles in the country. He's a 5-star player, as I understand. #1 blue chip prospect in the state of Michigan by the Detroit News, 2-time Dream Team member. Guy that really, when I look at him and I remember back, noticed him as a 9th grader going into his 10th grade year when he came to camp, and he was playing against the seniors and doing outstanding. And at that point in time, we started recruiting him and made sure he knew that we wanted him as a football player and as a person. And he became a Spartan early on in the process and never wavered. But an outstanding football player, and I think they will have an opportunity to play early, very, very early in his career. Played on the defensive side of the ball as well for them, obviously, as does all these guys, both sides of the ball. But he'll play on the offensive side and could fit into any of the 5, the 3 basic positions up there. So looking forward to him being here. He'll play in the Under Armour game as well, and great player. So I guess one of only 7 juniors in the nation to attend the opening finals in 2017. So outstanding football player. Very excited to have him. Adams Burkhorst from Zeeland, coached by Derek Pennington, 6'7", 265. In the meantime, I go back to Devontae to see what we have him listed at here. 6'3", 295. Adam Burkhorst, 6'7", 265. Those are measured sizes as well. Very long, athletic player, very active player. Uses his hands very well. Pass rush guy. Can really accelerate out of his pass rush to track people down. Dream Team player as well. Helped Zeeland East to the state finals. Will also play baseball here for Coach Boss. I think that's a very interesting aspect of all this, to be a pitcher for him and a highly recruited guy in baseball as well. So I think he might be able to touch home home plate from the mound, so his fingers. But outstanding player, was one of the guys that we felt like we needed to get in this state, and he's a highly recruited player, and very excited. Appreciate his trust as a person and us in our program. So, outstanding player. Spencer Brown, two-time All-State player, first-team All-State player. 6'6", 305-pound guy. Played defense as well. Will play offense here. Played guard, tackle type of guy. Big athletic player with power. Also played basketball as a sophomore, junior. Early enrollee. First committed to class back in July 2017, and really stayed the course throughout the process, and really, recruited our class as well. Was up here a lot. Some of these guys have been asked. I asked them how many times they've been on campus. They would say 15 times, things of that nature. So high school coach is Coach Grignan, and outstanding football player from Walled Lake Western, and we're very, very excited about him as well. J.D. Duplain from Strongsville High School, first team Division I, All-State Ohio, which is the largest division there. Played both offensive and defensive line. Projects right now to be a defensive lineman. Recruited him as a power athlete, could snatch and clean 350 pounds. Bench presses 225, 15 to 18 times, something of that nature. Early enrollee. Coach Serigno is his coach. The guy snowboards that size, was a pitcher, 90-mile-an-hour pitcher as a sophomore. Outstanding athlete, got a lot of shock, a lot of ability to run and move. You see him possibly as an offensive lineman, certainly. I don't think there's any question that that's a possibility or a reality, but we'll work with him on defense initially to see how he moves on that side of the ball. But I think he has a huge upside, very highly recruited player as well. 6'3", 303, and an athletic 303. So very excited about JD. Michael Fletcher from Carmen Ainsworth reminds me a lot. 6'5", 250. Reminds me really a lot of Will Goldston, personality-wise, and the way he moves and reacts on the football field. Outstanding basketball player as well. Two-time first Flint Dream Team selection. Impact pass rusher, outstanding basketball player. Coach Parker, Jerry Parker, is his high school football coach. Number one defensive end in the state of Michigan. Again, another guy that's highly recruited. And when I go back and I look at the places that these guys could have gone, really all over the country, very excited that they're all coming to Michigan State. And Michael was an early commit and maintained that commitment throughout as well. And it's always been a pleasure to talk to, and looking forward to going over and watching him play basketball later this in January. Signed Maverick Hansen this morning as well. Maverick was a guy that was on our radar, and just kept looking at Maverick as a player, 6'5", 275 pounds, 6'4", 275 or such. Tough, athletic guy. Every time I continue to go back and watch him, I see a guy that's a high motor guy. Reminds me of Kevin Pickleman. Reminds me of Kenny Willikis. And I just felt like he was one of those type of guys that was going to bring it. Another guy that long jumps was in camp. A lot of these guys were in camp for us. Long jumps about 8'5", and ran very well in camp, and verticaled well. So projects as a defensive lineman for us as we watched more, and the more we liked. So he was a late take, as I said before. Late takes oftentimes work out because of the effort aspect and things of that nature. A good student, played for Coach Harrington over there, so I know he's been well coached in a great program. But we've had so many Spartans come to us from Harrison High School that be excited to watch him. But he will be here with us. Damon Kaler, again, we're just continuing through the power, what I call power players. Early enrollee, big, powerful guy, played both right tackle and left tackle in high school. One of the top-ranked players in the state of Indiana, attended our camp last year. Good, very good feet, light on his feet. Big, strong guy. Will be an outstanding guy as well, I believe. From a smaller school down there, but showed very well in camp and offered in camp, coming out of camp was an offer, and then accepted early in the summer. Nick Samak from Mentor High School, 6'4", 285, played one of the best programs in the state of Ohio in Mentor. High School. Steve Trevisano is his coach. Incidentally, Damon's coach, I want to make sure I mention all the coaches. Damon's coach is now listed here. So there we go. They're having a coaching change. Coach Trevisano, good feet, good balance, ability to run. Plays, probably can play any of the five, play offensive guard, center, tackle up front. Plays with great toughness and power, highly recruited. Look for, again, another young man who I believe a number of these guys are going to be early contributors. And I would think that maybe Nick will be as well. But early enrollee, as I said, outstanding player. And really, I don't know how many I read there, probably, what, 6, 8 guys, 8 big guys that, excuse me, are athletic guys that can play a lot of different positions for us, offensively and defensively. And they all sort of played across the board on their respective high school teams on the offensive and defensive side. Big skill positions, linebackers, running backs, got a quarterback in there as well. Luke Fulton from Fulton, Ohio. He's played at Cardinal Mooney High School, which has an outstanding football program there. Played for Paul Meckley. Ranked as one of the 10 best overall players in Ohio, one of the top inside linebackers. High impact player, really what we're looking for in a player. Linebacker, ability to catch the ball, has shock, explosive power, runs extremely well, can probably play inside at the Mike position or outside at the money position. Ranks in the top 10 in his class with over 4-point grade point average, so an outstanding player, 6'3", 218 pounds, maybe a little heavier than that right now, but will be a big thumper type of guy for us. Marcel Lewis from Chippewa Valley, 6 foot, about 220 pounds, excellent linebacker, playmaking skills. When you watch his highlight film, he's a guy that can drill you into the ground, and very explosive guy, high impact player, really runs well, hits with great shock, 2-time Dream Team player and first team All-State selection, captain of the Free Press team on defense, state champion player as well. Chippewa Valley went to a perfect 14-0 record. Scott Merchant is his coach and is an outstanding coach, and has coached a number of our players, or players that have played for me in the past, and has done a tremendous job with those guys. But I think Marcel is a guy that, again, these guys all have an opportunity to get on the field early in some capacity. I really was extremely impressed with his film. Peyton Thorne, quarterback, top-ranked quarterback in the state of Illinois. Really makes all the throws when you see him, the intermediate throws, the bubbles, the slants, down the field throws. Great timing as a playmaker, as a 3-sport athlete. Has great leadership qualities. Threw for 3,000 yards and 40 touchdowns as a senior only. 3 varsity seasons threw for more than 7,000 yards with 65 TDs. It's impressive also as his dad is a college coach. His grandfather's a college coach, so he grew up much like Rocky Lombardi with father as a college coach. So I think he's got very good football awareness and sense, and very excited and to be working with him. 6'2", 180 plus pounds right now. But when you see him play, he has the ability to run. He's a quick-bodied guy on the basketball court, and can get out of problems. Anthony Williams, Bolingbrook High School, #1 all-purpose back in the state of Illinois, first team All-State, 6 foot, about 197 pounds, very explosive, early enrollee. Camped at MSU, was a very impressive athlete. A lot of these guys, like I said, going back, probably camped here. He's a 10'3" long jumper, 36-inch vertical guy. So he's a very explosive player, gets the ball extremely well, great feet. John Ivlow is his coach, and is sent to Sean Mallory here. We've got a track record with the players certainly that have come out of Bolingbrook High School, an outstanding program. So early enrollee, as I said, but catches the ball very well. When he came to camp, really catches the ball like R.J. Shelton in a lot of ways. So sort of compared him to him as a tailback coming out of high school, but I think he can do a lot of different things for us. Will come as a tailback, but I think he's a guy that you can flex out and throw the ball to very effectively. Brandon Wright, Euclid, Ohio, #1 running back in the state of Ohio, rushed for over 1,000 this year as a senior. Plays in a great conference for Jeff Rodsky, who's been around a long time as a high school coach at Euclid. 6'2" plus probably, 220 plus. Big body, physical running back, 60-meter sprinter, runs a 7 flat 60, which is a very good time. 22.3 long jumper, which he did at 223 pounds. So he is an explosive player. Also plays on the defensive side of the ball, defensive end for their high school team. Very active player, and I think he will have certainly a great future here, and he will have his moments. So 2 running backs as well. You get into the skilled players. The first guy up is Julian Barnett. Julian is one of the top players in the state of Michigan, Under Armour All-American. Playing that game as well, ranked the #1 corner in this prospect in the state of Michigan, #1 cornerback prospect. Dream teamer, versatile performer, plays multiple positions. You know, corner, receiver. You watch the highlight film. There's no question he can play receiver for us, and just all over the place. Led them to the Division I semifinals. Obviously, Coach Crowell is his coach as well in Belleville. 6'2", 193 pounds. Hits with shock. Has the potential to be an immediate contributor. I believe that that's going to happen. One of the first commits for the 19 season has been with us throughout the entire way and has remained committed. But very excited about Julian and what he's doing. Jace Bowen from Toledo Central Catholic, 6 foot 190, wide receiver, very athletic, dynamic playmaker. Another guy that will play baseball here. One of the highest ranked shortstops in the country. Top-ranked shortstop in Ohio as well. So Greg Dempsey is his coach. Central Catholic has an outstanding program, always competing for the state championship there. Played multiple positions: receiver, running back, kick and punt returner, quarterback in the Wildcat formation, punted, did it all there. So very athletic. Again, was an earlier committed guy, and extremely excited about him being a Spartan. Tate Halleck, Dream teamer, 6'4", 190, outstanding athlete, playing on offense, defense, special teams. Outstanding lacrosse player as well. Legacy, dad played for it. His brother Tanner is also a redshirt freshman here. Great ball skills, extremely tough, tackles extremely well. Really reminds me a lot of Matt Morrissey and a lot of the different things. Great vertical jumper. Coach Rogers over at Forest Hill Central is his coach, and you know, the more you watch Tate, the more you see the dynamic player he is, whether it's receiving, punt returner, safety, whatever it is. He's going to excel to a high level, very high level. Hold on. Trey Mosley, West Bloomfield High School, 6'1", probably 185 pounds. #1 wide receiver ranked in Michigan, big-time playmaker with outstanding pass-catching ability. Extremely outstanding route runner. I think Coach Bellamy over there does an outstanding job, especially with their wide receivers in terms of teaching them and coaching them to a very high level. Great run after catch. Early enrollee, 55 catches for more than 1,000 yards as a senior. Another guy that I believe was going to get involved very, very quickly here. Doesn't take long when you watch the film to see he has a college, skill level relative to college wide receivers in terms of start and stop, run after catch, and pluck the ball out of the air. So very outstanding player. Our specialist that we signed, Jack Baumeister from Victoria, Australia, punter. And Pro Kick Australia had a connection with Shane Graham, our analyst with special teams, and came on a visit during the Purdue game and said Coach Tread to do a home visit. So he took the plunge and went 22 hours. But he's got a unique skill set, and he was just too good to pass on. In the Australian style football, you're seeing that happen over here more and more in terms of our punters in American college football. I think he has 36 punters. There's 36 punters from Pro Kick kicking over here in the States, but very explosive leg. Basically put it anywhere on the field, in any way, spiraling or end over end. And I just felt like with the unique skill set with his background that he was too good to pass up. He's an early enrollee, so it'll be exciting to watch him in the spring and see how he adapts to American football. I'm sure that there will be some, ability to, he'll have to adapt a little bit, but I'm sure that that will take place. Outstanding athlete. Evan Morris will be a free agent for us, one of the best punters and kickers in the class of 19. Extremely great, very good kicker, especially a kickoff guy, so he'll compete for that. First team all-conference, camped at MSU. Travis Long is his coach, and he also is a guy that played a number of other positions. But was very impressed with him. 6'5", 205 pounds, so he's a big, long guy with a great leg. He also punted. When I saw him, he'd only punted for 2 weeks, but he could turn the ball over. But outstanding kicker. Jude Petruchio, rated as one of the best long snappers in the nation. Also played on the offensive line, a linebacker in high school, Westerville South. Outstanding student, will compete for playing time, I believe, immediately. He's as good as we've seen coming out of high school, so very excited about him. So I believe that is it. Very excited about our class again, and I think that it's 18 signed guys right now, and the possibility of another couple coming, and then a couple specialists that are free agents, but that are in with us and in solid with us, and guys that will probably earn scholarships as we go. So I will take some questions. Yeah.
Regarding the two baseball guys, is there, first of all, have you ever had one before? And also, is there a trade-off knowing you might have to give up some spring football practices while they play baseball?
Trent Gillison's a guy that may play a little bit in the spring here. My take on it is, if they're good enough to play and contribute, I want our guys to reach all their dreams here. So, there's a give and take with that. One of the reasons they're coming here is because of that opportunity to do that, so I want to make sure that happens for them. They've got to be able to keep their grades up, which both those guys are outstanding students, and I think they'll be able to do that, and then we'll make it work. Not sure how, but we'll make it work. We've had guys run track here in the past, had guys run track in Cincinnati. Our spring practice has moved up, so it should work for them a little bit, and as long as they're getting on the field, we'll make it happen.
Excuse me, you mentioned the focus on power type players, especially up front. I know these guys don't wait till the season's done and commit or anything like that, but when you look at, especially on the offensive line, how much of that focus and recruiting is out of need for what you believe you have to fill on your current roster?
Yeah, I think we're always going to look to see what we got to try and fill, do the very, very best that we can do on those things. And some guys are sort of sitting out there not signing. A couple of them that we're recruiting and they're going to wait. Other guys are making the decision now. I think most of the people making their decision now, probably 90% of the players out there. So we'll see how it all shakes out. I do believe that from an offensive line perspective, this may be the best class we've ever signed in my 12 years here. I think see the quality of the players up there. If you want to include J.D. Duplain in that, who could play, or certainly could play over there, no question. I don't think without question it's the best offensive line class that we've signed. They're big, they're athletic, they come from very good programs, they've been very successful, they've been extremely highly recruited players. Also probably the best two defensive ends, clearly just big, long, tall defensive ends that we've recruited. They can get up and go, and then, you can just, when you stand there in the doorway and they can almost put their head in the doorway, you feel pretty good about them walking by.
Mark, you mentioned Duplain. I guess what goes into that decision to try him first defensive side, and then also with Maverick, how much was what he showed this year on the defensive side allowed him to flip that side of the ball for you guys?
JD is just an outstanding athlete. He plays a little bit of defense for Strongsville, but I just felt like a guy that could. We had our 4 offensive linemen. That's what we wanted to take. And so we looked at it and said, could we take him as a defensive lineman? Possibly. Yeah, he's a power guy. He's big enough, strong enough, he's athletic enough to do this. And he was a guy that we'd have certainly taken. So I just stretched out there and said, hey, we're going to fill the need here, and we're taking a 5th guy at offensive line either way, because at the end of the day, you're going to take your best players. So wherever he can get on the field fastest, that's where he'll play. But we're going to allow him to sort of see that on the defensive side initially, probably because of things like his 40 time and because of his bench presses. because of his ability to clean. You know, the 350 clean is like unheard of for a high school player. So the fact that he has great balance and things of that nature would lead me to believe that if he can use his hands, he's a lot like Matt Carrick, I think, when we recruited Matt. I think Matt could play with it as well. So, you know, it just depends on where he fits and gets on the field fastest. As far as Maverick, you really just kept looking at him throughout. We visited him every week in this contact period, and had him in camp. Grown to 275 now, and I just kept looking. I just kept looking at little things like his ability to get off a block and his ability to stay on his feet after, you know, in a situation where you need to continue to stay on balance, and he runs down the field on kickoffs, and you know, his vertical jump versus some of these other guys' vertical jump and long jumps, and it's like this guy's, you know, above the others. And you know, his toughness and the fact that he's a doer. And I just think you win with doers. And I just started to believe that this is a guy like Willikis, like you know, a guy like maybe Jack Conklin, you know, an effort guy, a guy like Kevin Pickelman, an effort guy. And I think he's going to overachieve, and that's what you have to do at this level. Everybody comes in with a level of foundation, who they are. It's what you do after that that's really sends you to the limits, to your limits.
Mark, two things. First, on a player, I don't know how much you've seen of Michael Fletcher, but to mention Will Golson's name is pretty high praise. Do you expect him to be a pass rusher extraordinaire? Is that what he does best?
Yeah, I think he can. I think he can rush the passer. You can watch him on the basketball court. He's athletic. He can run. He can run. You know, the guy played tight end too, but he can run, and he's a versatile player because he's just athletic. But I think that Will was a lot like that. And Will was an outside backer, and then after 2 days we made him a defensive end. Well, at least we don't have to go through that. Taped his hand up and say he was a defensive end, and there he went. But I think he's a big guy like that. He's 6'5", approaching 6'6", much like Will was, athletic.
The thing is, beyond the 5 stars and the 4 stars, which you've never cared much about, is there an ingredient you look in an athlete that fits the Spartan mold? Is there a Spartan DNA you want these guys to fit?
I don't know if there's a DNA. I just want people that are going to come here and overachieve, because I think we all come with a certain foundation, as I said earlier, and I also think that you know, you're coaching players, and you want to feel good about the type of person you're coaching, so they had to measure up in that area. And then we look at these guys. I mean, I'm looking at all of these guys again today, and looking at them throughout. You watch them. You try and really pull their game apart. And you watch a numerous amount of film. You watch a highlight film, and we make hit films off of them, which says here's 60 plays of the good, the bad, the whatever, and then you stack them against these other guys. So we try and do our homework, and thus far, you know, we seem to hang in. You know, I don't think we've had an abundance of players that have gone to the NFL or be All-American or be All-Conference or academic all Big Ten or whatever it is. So I think these guys will come and do exactly the same. I'm excited about them. There's always going to be 1 or 2 that get away. But that's the nature of it too.
2 questions, Mark. Going back to Maverick, this is a kid that committed to Central but was very honest with them. I want to be a Spartan, I'll go there. He didn't hide that. He kept pursuing you. At some point, did that get your attention, that here's a guy, he kept coming after you?
The entire time he's remained on our board as a guy we talked about weekly, and a guy that we had to assess and just continue to ask ourselves, you know, which direction we wanted to go. And so, you know, this morning I made that decision. You know, slept on it again last night, but he was a guy that, you know, throughout the entire process, excuse me, we just kept saying, should we take him, should we not, what should we do here? Because, you know, there's nothing that's perfect, but his work ethic and his measurables and the way he got off blocks and tracked people down, and then you start watching him against some of the better players in this state, start saying, why not him? And I think we've got a guy that it's going to be very important for him to be here and be a Spartan, and I think we're going to get 100%, maybe more, out of him. He's a doer.
Second of all, you're very adamant about wanting to run the ball, but your offensive lines have been traditionally not among the biggest. Does this offensive line recruiting class maybe set a sign that a little bit of a shift in philosophy going towards a bigger line?
Well, I always want a bigger line. We always want guys that are going to be 300. We got a number of them that are, or 310 or whatever. But, you know, we want our guys to be athletes. You have to be athletes up there to block the guys that they have to get on. So I think a couple guys have had a game weight to get there, cold chewings, etc. So we're still trying to get him over 300. But a couple guys have reached that plateau and higher. But you know, it is what it is sometimes. You need to have athletic guys up there. You got to block people on the edge. You got to be able to run and block the linebackers and things of that nature. So it all sort of fits in. But we've had good players up there. We need to play more consistently up there, I feel. And we've got some young players up there as well that are true sophomores. So it all sort of, here we go.
Mark, you guys spent about 5 months without a quarterback in the class. Can you describe the patience it requires to evaluate, I assume, a number of guys and kind of wait till you find the one guy you like and then really move on him?
Yeah, you know, we never stop looking for the quarterback in the class. And, you know, found a couple here at the end. And really, Peyton had an outstanding senior year, but, you know, probably more importantly, what he had early on, you know, his sophomore and his junior year sort of started the prospect, and then we got involved with him probably the last 3 or 4 weeks. But when you go back and you watch the senior tape and you start watching the throws, you know, everything is, and then you put the hit tape together and you watch his games, and you sit down and you have a guy watch 3 or 4 games in a row, he makes all the throws. And he gets out of trouble. He's got a very quick release. And, you know, he can shoot the ball out there, shoot slants, you know, deep balls. But he made all the throws, and you know, really just, you know, I was just waiting for the right guy that we saw that we really liked, and he was the guy. So it wasn't a fact that we weren't going to take a quarterback, it had to be the right guy. You know, so I think he'll come and compete.
Mark, going back through some of your other recruiting classes, looking at like 10 and 11, maybe 2 of your best formative when you look at that run that happened from that group. Do you ever go back and look at groups where you had 10, 12 guys that really panned out or were all and say, what were the common themes here? What did we do well in evaluating or things like that?
Yeah, I got a little thing on my phone that says 2012 class, and there they are. 2013 class, there they are. Some panned out and some didn't. Some made it through and some didn't. The majority did make it through. And that's the other thing too. We want our guys to graduate, make it through. So we haven't had as much, I don't think we've had that much, attrition. But it always happens because when you come to this level, you're going to be re-challenged because everybody in the program's already, they've all come with the same type of height. So now they've got to re-challenge themselves, and they're at a foundation. Okay, how do they learn? How do they compete against that next level of player? But I think we had some players that in those classes that probably were under the radar guy. Certainly Le'Veon Bell was. It's a mid-year guy that we took right in December, and you know, I think he was a 2-star player at that time. So I guess it just happens. We just try and do a good job recruiting. There's a lot of services out there, and I think that with social media getting more and more, what should I say, popular, or more and more experts at social media, maybe I should say it that way. There are more and more experts in recruiting. So there's more variety and more different things that are being said. So we're just going to try and do our job to the best of our abilities to analyze every single player in the state of Michigan, and we're going to miss on some, we're going to be late on some. And if we're late on some, apologize for not getting on them earlier, because maybe we would have got them. But we're going to do our very best to try and let it all sort of soak through.
Mark, I was wondering, which offensive line position do you see Devontae starting at? I'm just curious sort of about your recruitment of him, being a 5-star, highly recruited guy. He seems like a little bit of a different guy, just in terms of he's kind of a low-key, unassuming type versus some of these guys that seem to really enjoy the spotlight. I'm just wondering what his recruitment was like, if it was unique in any way.
You know what's nice about our recruiting class, we really don't have to play a lot of games with them. You don't have to go through all this stuff. I didn't see anybody put down 15 hats or that kind of stuff. You know, they are other than me. They are who they are, Devontae included. Very low-key, The recruiting process was about he and his position coach, his grandmother, and us. It was people sitting down. His father got involved a little bit at the end there, but it was about it was just about people. And there's no we don't play games here. We don't come in and do a lot of glitzy stuff. They come in, they find out who we are. They like who we are, they come here. They want to go someplace else, they go someplace else. That's okay. It's going to happen. But we're going to try and be who we are through the process, and I think that attracts certain players. You understand when they come here, it's the beginning of another level, really, of hard work. So, but Devontae was outstanding. So was Fletcher. So was Burkhorst. All these guys. They had a lot of places they could have gone. They chose Michigan State for a reason. I appreciate their trust in us as people.
Initial spot for Devontae?
Initial spot for Devontae, I would say probably guard or tackle. I'd say tackle based on his feet. Based on his feet that I saw in camp way back, but he's got power and he can run and he can move. So really let Coach Staten make those decisions as we go. And but I think he can play any of those positions up there, which is a big positive.
Speaking of positions, you mentioned Julian being obviously a talented cornerback, and you mentioned wide receiver. Are you guys going to start him at corner? Is that the plan, or do you see him kind of fitting in the mold of some of these guys you've had recently, like Justin?
That's a tough question. Probably have to ask me that in August, but based on when you watch the film, you can put him in either place, and he could be a guy that can play in either place early. I think he tackles extremely well. He's got outstanding ball skills. He can run. He's long in the back end there in the secondary, and then on the flip side of that, if you watch his tape, I mean, he makes some tremendous catches and is an impact player on that side of the ball as well. So that'll be a tough one as we get here. I think the key thing will be to teach him one side of the ball and implement him on the other. I think usually it's easier to teach a guy on the defensive side of the ball and then implement him to the offense, rather than vice versa. But we've done it both ways, so it'll be interesting. It'll probably be based on more need than. Let's see how he sorts it all out.
Is that kind of a similar plan for Tate as far as where he projects?
Sort of similar plan as well for him. But I think, sorry, Fred, I think when we recruit a defensive back, the first thing I want to see is, or I ask is, well, why isn't the guy playing wide out? Can he not catch? And then when we're recruiting a wide receiver, I ask, well, why is he not playing defense? Is he not tough? And so, I think, of course, Trey Mosley's playing defense football too, same with Chase. So I think all those guys sort of fit that mold.
You and your staff put so much time and effort into this. Is there, especially with the early signing period, is there a relief when this is done? Is it time to exhale and get ready for the bowl game?
Well, we never really exhaled. We just been getting ready for the bowl game and keep working. There's a lot of things going on, obviously, but I do think it's a relief that these guys are signed, and you know that they're there, and now you can say, okay, do we need this guy? Do we need a tight end? Do we need another guy here? Do we need a guy here? Or you wait for a couple guys to make their decisions. So I think you're not working on as many players. So, and the bulk of who you're signed is so you just put the candles on the cake.
Coach, speaking of the bowl game for just a moment, obviously Oregon comes up, New Year's Eve, you have this one. This is a series you guys played in 2014-15, pretty good matchups. What does it mean to you? What does this series mean to you for Michigan State and Oregon to be playing again? And again, this was announced in 2028 and 29. These two teams will be playing again. So what's the series like?
2029, huh? Okay. I think that first of all, you've got two national brands playing. People are going to turn on the TV to watch Michigan State play Oregon because of the past two games. They're very close games because of the Pac-12 and Big Ten and the nature of that. So I think you're going to have a lot of people watching that football game, and it's at a good time on Fox. So it's a primetime game on Fox, I believe, on New Year's Eve. So that's a positive. But they have the #1 quarterback maybe in the draft. They've got some other outstanding players. we've got some guys that people want to watch, so I think there's a lot to that, and so we're excited about the opportunity, and we've been working on them really since the announcement, and then been practicing really since last Friday, so this will be our 5th practice today.
Hey Mark,
Yeah.
pretty much everybody, all recruits seem to commit before their senior year these days. That's just the way the things shake out now. So when you're evaluating these guys and offering them and taking commitments, you're also like betting on the rise a little bit that they will become something their senior year. Is there 1 or 2 players that when you saw their senior year, you're like, that's exactly what I was hoping that player could and should become? Is there 1 or 2 that you can highlight that is really heading toward that ceiling that made you feel good about offering them as a junior?
Yeah, I mean, all those players that, if you watch their highlight films, they sort of are what they are. They're exactly what we wanted. You see Fletcher and Burkhorst. I mean, I can go back through them all again, but I'm not going to miss any of them. But you see guys make a play on the films for the reasons that we recruited them. And to see them do that as a senior, it's gratifying, and you feel good about it. In the case of Maverick Hansen, you saw more on senior film probably than maybe you did on junior film. But that's the nature of it. As we go through it, we're constantly analyzing and evaluating each prospect, each guy. Doing the very best we can do, but very excited about these guys. I think there'll be a lot of immediate contributors or early in their career. And the way I've always looked at it, can a guy contribute as a true freshman? Tough sometimes. Some guys can, relative to the position that they're playing. Can they contribute as a redshirt freshman? I would say most of these guys are in that capacity or earlier. Or are they competing as a sophomore? I mean, on the field for you as a sophomore, because that's 3 years in, beginning of their 3rd year. They know what to do. It takes time to understand what to do and be able to grasp all the, I guess, different things from in the college game, just like it does. It takes time to grasp everything in the pro football world, but guys make it through in the first year, but not many. So it's usually based on need, injury, and then expertise or ability. But we're excited about all these guys. I think some of these guys will show up on game day next year.
You guys go quickly, about 5 minutes before we get 10 o'clock back, so we can have a few more questions.
Mark, last week Justin Lane said he was going to enter the NFL draft. Real quick, I don't know, is he planning to play in the bowl game, or are there any other players who are still contemplating maybe leaving early / playing in the game, or is that open squared away?
Justin Lane has left the football team, so obviously he won't be playing in the bowl game, and everybody else is still with the team. So I imagine they're playing.
Is that disappointing to you that he's not going to be with them?
Disappointing. And everybody these days have a different philosophy on how these things are working out. My philosophy is you finish the season, that includes bowl games or playoff games, and other people feel differently. Doesn't mean that I'm right and they're wrong. It's just a difference of philosophy.
Mark, you've had some years where there's been very little late action through signing day. This year, a little different, flipping positively and negatively. How much of that is due to the early signing period?
Well, I think that last year maybe, people are going to flip. I don't know. Don't ask me why, how, or whatever, because we don't force it on somebody. I'm not holding anybody's, hand through it and saying you got to do this. So people make decisions which are in their best interest. Just like the last question I answered. So I'm not here to say I'm right or I'm wrong, but it'd be nice to have clarity at times rather than get a text at 10.
For you, just with these guys that aren't making these decisions right now, do you feel that all those decisions have been made, that the guys are going to stay with the program through the bowl game and into next year, or is it situations where they're still going to make those decisions after the game?
I think they're with us through the bowl game, and I think those decisions are made by them in an announcement format, and I don't want to speak for them. So they'll make those decisions and make that announcement based on what's best for them at that point in time.
Quick point of clarification, if you don't mind, with Josiah, you said everyone on the roster you expect him to play, so you expect Josiah in the bowl game?
Josiah will play in the bowl game. That's his wish, and we've talked about it at length, and he sees it as a great opportunity to perform at a high level in a national game against a great quarterback and great wide receivers. So he's going to play.
How about LJ, Mark? Where does he stand?
LJ will play as well.
well.
Been practicing and we're playing the game.
Well, he's healthy now.
He's healthy.
Good time for one or two more, guys.
Mark, this may be something, maybe nothing. I'm just curious if the redshirt rule and that ability, obviously, to play 4 games, does that affect recruiting at all? Whether it's just the conversations you have with guys, or the type of guys you target, the number of certain positions, does anything at all? Does that have any effect?
I don't know if it has any effect because most of these guys expect to play when they come, but you know the opportunity to play 4 games is a great opportunity. You know, guys like Davion Williams will play in his 4th game coming up. I think Galen Gervin maybe be playing in his 4th game if he plays in the bowl game. So they haven't played a lot. They played in special teams, but it gives them an opportunity to go on a big stage and play. And we've got 7 or 8 guys that have done that. So I think that's tremendous for their development in terms of their. They understand that there's a difference. There's a difference in practice and playing in the games, and they need to understand that. So I think it's positive. I do think that players probably look a little deeper than that in terms of guys, in terms of from a recruiting standpoint, who's there. They look a little further down the line, how it would impact them as a freshman as a whole, not just 4 games.
Last one right here.
And kind of going back to that, in some ways, does the ability to play as many younger players as you have the last few years, does that shrink when you've had so many experienced players coming back that have played now as young guys?
I don't know if it shrinks because we've been hit with the injuries this year, which probably put some of those guys in those situations, but I want to always play our freshmen to give them an opportunity in those 4 games. Now, if they're like Xavier Henderson, he's played throughout. So, a lot of things going on. I can't really think of anybody else. There's a couple, though, that have played throughout. Darius Jefferson, he's played throughout. But guys like Elijah Collins has not. So I think it benefits players to play a little bit. And so I always want to do that because I think that's a huge upside for them the next year and in terms of their getting ready for the off season. They understand that they're involved. They're in the boat. They're involved, and they're not just practicing to go through the motions. I mean, it's real. What they do may be seen on game day the very next week.
Thanks, guys.
Thank you.